Welcome back to the Roar Podcast Sports Edition. I'm Garrett Harker.
And I'm Brayton Bowen, and today we have more topics and more interesting stuff as March is coming around, and basketball fans all know that means that March Madness is going to be coming up and this coming week. And actually last week the conference tournaments went down and are still going down, and then the NBA is picking up their part two of their season. So the main topics today, we're going to talk about the NFL free agency and franchise tags, which if you don't know what that is, we'll explain that here in a minute. Also, we're going to go over the 2021 NCAA conference tournaments, the ones that have been won and the ones that are still up for grabs, and Garrett's going to get into that. We're going to talk about Butler basketball, and then because they're a big team here in Indiana. And then we're also going to get into the Big Ten tournament because around here, most people are either Purdue or Indiana fans. We'll get into what each team needs to do, what they would have to go through to win. And, yeah, so here we go. First off, I'm going to pass it off to Garrett, and he's going to talk about free agency and the franchise tags.
So, to start off, we have Dak Prescott, 4-year, $160 million extension. So
With a $66 million signing bonus.
Wow.
$66 million.
So that's a tag if I ever heard one.
That's more than a tag.
Yeah,
that's an entire. That is
wow.
A boatload of money.
That's dumbfounding, actually. That's a lot of money to sign to put a name on a piece of paper, honestly.
And they have been in talks. Sorry about that. If you heard that at the bell, they, as in the Cowboys and Dak Prescott, have been in talks for a long time. As in Dak wanted a crap ton of money. And the Cowboys did not want to pay him that ton of money because Dak Prescott got hurt.
Right.
And so I guess the Cowboys finally gave in because Dak was putting up some very good numbers before he got hurt.
Lots of good numbers before he got hurt, so that's a good
here, we're going to read off some of the names of guys that have been franchise tagged. I believe there was around 10 of them. And we'll get into a couple, or one especially as a Colts fans, that we like to see. All right,
So we'll start off with Chris Godwin, receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Recently just won the Super Bowl, but he's going to make about $15.9 million on the tag. And then we got Marcus May, safety for the Jets. He's going to make about $10 million in the tag. Taylor Motons, is that how you say his name?
I'll be honest, I have no clue.
So he's a tackle for the Panthers, $13+ million. So that's going to be really, really good for him. Allen Robinson, receiver for the Bears. That's about an $18 million tag. Another big one here.
Brennan Sheriff, he's a pretty good guard. $15 million, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Justin Simmons is a pretty solid safety for the Broncos. Leonard Williams, he's about the only good defensive player on the entire New York Giants. And then Marcus Williams, if you remember, he's the guy that missed the tackle on Stephon Diggs for the Minnesota Miracle. So now that the NFL, I mean, there's not really much else NFL news to talk about. I feel like the main portion of this podcast today is going to be about college basketball.
Yep.
Because it is, as we're recording this, the beginning of March, mid-March, however you want to look at it, and the Big Ten tournament's coming up this week, the SEC, Pac-12, Big 12, whatever you like, whatever you want to watch, it's going to be on TV. The heartbreaks are going to happen. The buzzer, somehow, there's always at least 10 or 15 buzzer beaters in March. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's the part that I like, is because when March Madness hits, just like any other sport in the playoffs, it's really fun to watch because you can't really say who's going to win because there's always going to be some upsets and there's always going to be some rivalries going on. So I think March Madness is a really unique thing because you can win on a buzzer beater, or an 8 seed can beat a 1 seed or whatever. So
speaking on your point of rivalry, the Purdue-Indiana rivalry was just renewed. I believe it was last Saturday in West Lafayette. Purdue won for the 9th straight time, and I can tell you as a big Purdue fan, I cannot be more excited. And this comes up a topic that, Garrett and I really aren't, too into when talking about college basketball coaching and all that stuff, but you have to think about if the Indiana coach is really going to be coaching next year if he is 0-9 against Purdue.
That's got to come up, right? That's got to come up in the.
If you cannot beat your arch rival,
then what do you do? Like 9 in a row is kind of tough to swallow there.
I'm pretty sure their last one was 2016, and it is, if you keep up, it is 2021. So that is a while. So speaking on the Purdue-Indiana rivalry, that'll bring us to the Big Ten basketball tournament, which is actually starting Wednesday, with the 13-12 game, which is Minnesota Northwestern at 6:30. The first two games are just the play-in games for the bottom four seeds. They don't really mean anything. And then it's actually the main, I would say, well, depending on the upset, the top 10 or so teams will start on Thursday, March 11th. That's going to be going Michigan State versus Maryland. Oh, and by the way, all these games are in Indianapolis. I don't know if it's at Lucas Oil or at Bankers Life. I would assume Bankers Life.
I saw the Horizon League tournament was in Lucas Oil, I believe.
This also says right here, we're on NCAA.com. Also, it says it's going to be at Lucas Oil. The Horizon League. Really?
Yep.
And so, I mean, the four teams that got double byes are Michigan, Illinois is the 2, Iowa is the 3, and Purdue actually squeaked in as a 4, as Purdue is a very, very young team with not one senior on their team. So that's pretty impressive to get a 4. And if you're an Indiana fan, unfortunately, you're a 10. You got to play Rutgers, and if you win, you play probably one of the best teams.
A very good Illinois basketball team this year.
Exactly. So. And even if you win that, you have to play National Player of the Year, Luka Garza, in Iowa, which actually Indiana has beat them this year.
Yeah, they have. Close one.
Yeah. And I don't know. The odds of that happening are slim to none, and I'm quite frankly going to say none. And I know Garrett's going to say the same thing. None. Because you cannot beat Illinois, beat Iowa, and then have to beat either Michigan State, Purdue, Ohio State, potentially even Maryland. That just doesn't make sense. That it is what it is. But yeah, it's Indiana. Wow, Indiana beat them 81-69 on January 21st in Iowa, and then Indiana beat them just by 2, 67-65 on February 7th in Bloomington. So that would be
2 clutch wins for IU there, honestly, which is
and they're not even in the bubble anymore because they're an under 500 team with a really bad conference record. The Big Ten is very deep, as it has been for the past couple years, but it really is not. I don't think there's any chance for Indiana. If to make the tournament, they would have to win this Big Ten tournament, because what we're going to talk about right after this is if you win your conference tournament, you get an automatic bid into the NCAA tournament. And I just don't see Indiana winning it. Quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if they lost in the first game to Rutgers. And if they beat Rutgers, I would put money on that they wouldn't beat Illinois.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going to make a pick. I'm picking Illinois. What would you take here for the Big Ten tournament? You got any upsets, or who are you taking?
I don't know. I really think that Iowa's going to make a run towards the end there because they got that Garza kid that's been really good this season.
But they're really just they're the most fun. Like, if you think about Iowa basketball team, that just sounds fundamental.
Yeah.
It just sounds like a bunch of kids that can just shoot the lights out. And, there's our picks, and we'll hopefully on the next episode we'll have updated details and stats and hopefully some upsets to talk about in the Big Ten and maybe
March
even
Madness.
Yeah, about to say in the other one, as tournament's going to play out this week. There's going to be games starting on Wednesday, going all the way to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the championship's going to be on the 14th at 3:30. And going on to the rest of the conference championships, Garrett's going to take over.
So we're gonna go through the tournaments that have been won already. So we'll start off with Liberty. They won the A Sun. I think it's the Atlantic Sun. And Winthrop takes the Big South tournament. Drexel takes the CAA. Cleveland State wins the Horizon League, which was actually in Indianapolis also. Loyola College gets the MVC, which is surprising.
You remember their
their run with the
white boys, basically.
Mother Teresa or something, right?
Sister Jean.
Okay, nice.
Mother Teresa.
Whatever that is. Mount St. Mary's for the Northeast Conference. The Ohio Valley, Morehead State took that one.
They're from Kentucky or something like that.
Mm-hmm. In the Southern Conference, UNC Greensboro. Oral Roberts wins the Summit League. Appalachian State for the Sun Belt. And Gonzaga wins the West Coast on a nail-biter for them because they were down late.
Oh, yeah.
They were down late. I think it was 14.
To BYU.
Which is
actually
nuts.
A decent team.
Yeah. That was a big win for them. But the rest of the Power 5 is still to be played. So they're in perspective, there's 20 more conference tournaments to be played.
Get auto bids.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot more teams in the tournament here in the next couple weeks. This week, honestly, I think they're all going to be played by the end of this next week.
Yeah, because Selection Sunday is this Sunday.
Okay, so yeah. the end of this week, we're going to have a lot more upsets and scores and stuff to get you for the next
teams moving
episode.
in and out of the bubble.
Yep.
That's going to be fun. I love it when teams are on their seat, waiting for see if they're going to be going dancing, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking forward to all these upsets. And another local team we're going to talk about is Butler, as many fans around here are Butler fans. And we can also go over Notre Dame basketball, as they have some exciting – we'll get to that in a minute. Butler will be facing they have a 10 seed in the Big East. They'll be facing the 7 seed Xavier Musketeers. And Butler's actually 9-14 this year. Coming off, they upset Villanova by a lot recently.
Butler?
Yes.
Yeah, they defeated them 73-61 on February 28th, but they were a really highly ranked team, and they kind of upset them pretty good.
They also did just get smacked by Creighton. Speaking of Creighton, did you hear about their coach?
No, I did not.
Their coach said some sort of slur and got deep trouble, but I'm pretty sure he just got reinstated. So,
okay.
You live and you learn there. And, good luck to Butler. The Big East is definitely not as stacked as the Big Ten, but going through Villanova and even beating
Villanova and Xavier is going to be tough, too.
I mean, yeah, Xavier as a 7 seed is tough enough as it is. So, Butler gonna have a tough ride ahead of them, but if they can make it, I would like to see them back in the tournament. And the other big team in Indiana would be Notre Dame, who actually just beat Wake Forest yesterday on a buzzer beater in the 11-14 game in the ACC tournament, which I'm pretty sure if you're playing in New York or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
And tonight they'll be facing UNC.
I learned this the other day. So North Carolina and Duke are both not ranked, which is the first time in over 30 years where either team has not been ranked. So think about that. That's crazy, man.
That's
North Carolina and Duke.
Those are blue bloods right there.
Yeah, they're great tradition in that program for both of them, and for them to be not ranked, either of them, is crazy to think about.
That is very crazy to think about, and that'll be wrapping up this episode of the Roar Sports Edition podcast. Hopefully next time we will have some more March Madness stuff and maybe even a little bit more MLB stuff as their season's getting closer and closer.
Really close.
And Garrett and I are very excited about that, as Garrett will actually be going to opening day at one of them.
I believe I'll be able to on Thursday of opening day. That'll be our spring break. So
that'll be awesome right there. And so thank you for tuning in to this episode of the podcast, and we wish you a great day, and thank you for joining us. Thank you.